Hello, everyone.
Hello.
We are watching more Star Trek.
We are.
We've got ourselves some cider, and Annalise has picked out Season 2, Episode 15.
Which goes nicely with my ice cream.
Does it?
It does.
What's the ice cream?
Cookie dough ice cream. No, I don't know why this would go nicely together. I think it's because
Fair
they're
enough.
both cozy.
Yeah.
This is a very cozy episode.
It is a cozy
We
episode.
go with
that's
some
interesting.
cozy ice cream.
Okay. I was thinking, was it a volcano-flavoured ice cream or something?
Oh, that would have been good.
So, it's Season 2, Episode 15, Pen Pals.
Indeed.
So if you want to watch along, get your timestamp up to 0 on your Netflix or DVD or whatever, and press play at the sound of the now, which will be now.
Ah, it actually worked.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Knocking on all the wood.
So, why do you like Pen Pals, Annalise?
I think it's how I just said. It's a cozy episode.
Mm-hmm.
I've always loved Data episodes,
Mhm.
especially one where it makes you question about, is Data really just a programmed machine?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is one where he kind of goes against his programming and doing what he thinks is right versus what the Prime Directive might tell him to do. So, I just think it's a good one exploring Data's character. I will say I've seen it a lot,
Yeah.
but still, it's one I always like whacking on when I want just a nice. I call it a reasonably feel good episode.
Yeah. It's got a lot of warmth.
Yes,
It's got some lovely emotional things in it.
And you get to see Picard with the writing crap. So I mean,
yeah. So it's also a really good Prime Directive discussion.
it is. It's a very good Prime Directive discussion, especially early in. We're still reasonably early in TNG, and I'm not sure if they've. I can't recall if TNG at this point has done too many episodes really digging into the Prime Directive.
This is really your main one. I mean, this is the main one where they really come up against a conflict with it. This is their first kind of, we have to test our ideals now.
Yes.
Does it actually work? You know.
And I do kind of like that. For the most part, they were kind of left with no decision about what do we do. So, because at this point, Data has already violated the Prime Directive, so they're left with this decision. All right, do we run with this, or how do It's not like they're flying by and see a planet that's exploding and have to ask themselves, what do we do? Data's already kind of gotten them involved. I like how you can see a fence in the back.
Right.
You can't see the fence, but you can see the wall of the leaves, which usually means the fence. Nice horse.
It's funny because the holodeck became so boring. Like, holodeck episodes I usually skip when it gets to Voyager.
Yeah.
I don't find them that interesting, but the use of the holodeck early on in TNG was really good.
That's the question. What holodeck episodes do you actually like?
Ooh. They stopped doing one set into, like, there's obviously the one where they get trapped in the holodeck.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what, I think that's the kind of Chicago gangster one.
Barclay's holodeck episode is funny.
That's a really good one, and that's more interesting because that's more about addiction to technology and addiction to
the
fantasy.
ethics of the holodeck.
Yeah, well, let's not get too much into that. We'll do that episode at some point.
Yes,
we'll get into that in more detail.
I like when they use the holodeck as a little supplementary tool, like in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of Voyager, when they're at their little French bar, that's a good supplementary use of the holodeck just to mix up the scenery.
The Sandrines. Yeah.
Yes, mix up the scenery a little bit so you can actually see some green from time to time, that kind
Right.
of thing. But when it's whole holodeck episodes, those can get difficult.
Like, this is clearly some ranch in California. Yeah, doesn't look like England at all.
Not at all.
It's far too kind of sunny and American.
Well, we have California pretending to be France with an Englishman pretending to be French. So
right.
It works nicely.
So there are other aspects about this kind of an episode that you really like? I mean, I really like the debate scene where they really discuss everything. I find that that's the kind of the core of the episode to me.
I think I like that. Yes, obviously her planet is exploding. There's not much more of a subtle way to put it than that. But I don't know, there's no enemy There's no foe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And even the problem that they're trying to solve as far as how to stabilize the planet kind of seems secondary to the actual moral decisions that they have to make. And you couldn't watch an entire show of that. You couldn't watch every episode of that. It would get... To me, it would get a bit much. It would get a little bit boring. But having a show that's speckled with those kind of episodes, I quite like. It's like what I was saying the other day. I like how, in TNG especially, it's much more of a variety pack as far as what kind of episode you're going to get episode to episode.
You never know what you're going to get.
Well, that's just it. Is it going to be funny? Is it going to be horror? Is it going to be a big moral debate? You have a little bit more variety, I find, in TNG.
Yeah, and that's sort of the nice thing about some of these sci-fi shows is they get to jump around the genres a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you can have your kind of scary horror episodes. You can also have kind of comedy with Q and so on.
At the end, but at the end of the day, I think the reason I like this one so much is because it's a Data character piece. And those are some of my favorite episodes, are the ones exploring Data. Right.
There's also, don't forget, since Will Wheaton just came up, there is a B-plot to this episode, which you haven't mentioned yet, which is the Wesley gets his own project.
I completely forgot that B-plot.
Which is also a really nice kind of story.
It is, and it brings into an interesting debate, which I think we've had before, and I'm still not entirely sure how I feel, about whether or not the B-plot should intertwine with the A-plot, or if it can be completely separate. Because I've had issues with this episode before where the B-plot just seemed a little bit too far removed.
Yeah.
And it can be a bit jarring jumping from one to the other.
I think I like it better when it does actually intertwine in the end.
I think I do too.
It turns out one thing it's kind of like your house plot, right? So you'll have the main plot where there's something, the patient has some sort of problem where their hand keeps falling off or whatever. Something weird. He's got a worm in his eye, or I don't know what. Something really extraordinary.
Yeah.
And that's your main plot. And House and Foreman and 13 and everybody else, they're trying to figure out what to do. They're trying several different treatments and it doesn't work. In the B plot, you have House is having a random conversation with Wilson, and Wilson gives him an idea at the end that makes him go, "Aha! I should try this." This is kind of like that, where I think it's a little bit more direct in that, Will Wheaton, Wesley Crusher's
same thing.
His project gives them the solution
Yes.
that they need to use.
I suppose they do end up coming together towards the end. It's not... There are a few episodes where the A and B plot are completely separate.
I can't remember what episode this is where Picard is going for some sort of treatment. I remember I really didn't like it as a kid. The first time I watched this episode as a kid, I really didn't like it.
Oh.
Not this one. The episode where Picard goes for some sort of heart operation.
Oh, yeah.
In a shuttle with Wesley. Seems to take forever. And of course, stuff goes wrong. It gets very melodramatic. And there's something else going on the Enterprise. I can't remember what that plot is because I can't remember what episode this is part of. But that's just like neither of these stories are particularly well fleshed out. They're just kind of happening. Oh god, they're all staring.
Oh, that would be so uncomfortable. One thing I do... I'm eating my ice cream now.
Yeah.
One thing
This is late night Trek. It's a loose format.
Exactly. This is for cider and ice cream and Trek.
There you go.
Please, join us. Get a drink.
Crack open a Henry Weston or a Copperberg or whatever you want.
Yes, not sponsored. Get some... Get yourself some ice cream, some chocolate. Join us. Another interesting thing about this episode is it's one of the few in which Pulaski isn't a complete dick to Data.
That's right. She kind of takes his side. She takes his side in the debate later on. She's like, Data's friend is going to die. That means something.
Though, it does read a little bit like, oh, look, you're actually developing a human. Maybe you're not worthless.
She has a decent arc. She starts off...
She does.
By what's your one where Data goes up against Stratagema player, the one with the fingers going that played by that really arrogant alien who hates Riker.
Oh god, that character drives me mad.
He's kind of a good minor villain. I think he's quite good. He's just there to have somebody for Picard to yell at, basically.
Yeah.
It's a personal project. I'm making a total mess of the bridge. One thing, I mean, I was amazed. This is slightly off the topic, but I was fairly amazed by Andy Probert, who designed the Enterprise and also designed some of the interior sets too.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, it's quite nice that the interiors and the exteriors have a central kind of vision guiding all of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a consistency, and every little button and piece of, you know, every little panel, he knows what that is. He knows what it all is.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a long interview with him about the Enterprise D, and also about his concept for the Enterprise C, which we've talked about before, but that's the kind of slightly more curvilinear looking.
If you've never seen the Probert Enterprise C, look it up.
Right, we've told listeners before. Go look at the original concept, the Probert concept for the Enterprise C.
It's so nice.
It's very nice, and it looks more like a predecessor to the Enterprise D than the one they did. But these are actually motion picture corridors, for example. Like, this was not done by Probert. This was somebody else. But the and that corridor actually shows up in Wrath of Khan as well.
I only just noticed, and this actually makes sense. They have railings in the hallway on the left-hand side. There's railings on the wall.
For just in case you take a particularly nasty torpedo.
Well, I was going to say, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Then you bang your chin on it.
As opposed to some of the things in the later starships where you can fall like 6 stories.
Right. So the, you know, they're pointing out in this podcast with Andy Probert, they're pointing out all of these tiny little doohickeys around the bridge, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's landing gear for the saucer," or "Oh yeah, that's actually a cargo lift that goes down to the cargo bay." Or whatever. It's like, oh neat, he's actually thought about it, you know.
Imagine that your job is to make starship designs, and you actually think about what they do.
But that's so much fun, though.
I love it.
Imagine your job is to imagine future technology that you know. However you get paid to do that, that's a pretty good job. In another life, maybe I've done it.
They would absolutely. I can see, though, why everyone on the ship would hate Wesley. Because you have ensigns and lieutenants that have probably been at this for, 5 to 10 years. Wesley, a kid, comes along and says, "So I've been given a command." Or I've been given lead on a project. Right. They're like, "I've been working towards that for 10 years, but sure."
Just because you're a child genius. I mean, that's probably the centre of why everybody thinks he's sort of unlikable.
Nah.
They got his hairline perfect, where it's a totally straight line.
It's so geometric.
It just gives you that slight uncanny valley thing of like, oh, this is not quite a person, you know.
He must have loved that in his day-to-day life after shooting.
Yeah.
That being his hairline.
I mean, I'm not sure how they did it. Maybe they put a hairpiece on.
It does kind of look like a hairpiece. I do love how if you look closely enough, since his hair is a bit thin right at the front, you can see his unpainted scalp. Oh, yeah.
You can also see it in his eyes as well. Like, you can see that his... is this scleroderma? What is this? Sclera. But the inside of his eyelids are slightly irritated by the paint. You can see that he's like, I've just cut onions.
Obviously, I'm not saying, oh, they should have done better. No, it's just fun to point these things out.
Yeah.
Also, like,
these days they do it like Vision or something.
Why do his pants not zip up all the way in the back?
Oh yeah, it's a bit odd. I mean, Wesley Crusher's outfits are like Jake Sisso's outfits in that mostly they're awful. Although that one's not too bad.
No,
that kind of fleecy jumper thing.
I think his are on the whole better than Jake Sisko. I think Jake Sisko gets given some of the worst clothes in all of Star Trek.
Yeah, he gets the Oshkosh Bagosh kind of looking ridiculous tessellated patterns of various sorts. You know.
Oh, and all the worst shades of puke green.
Right. And then like a sash with kind of sequins or whatever it is on it. Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
Gotta say, Starfleet loves putting like stickers on panels and labels and saying, this is panel 4903.
Someone got a label maker for Christmas.
Although I suppose on an aircraft carrier they do label everything, so that if you need to maintain bulkhead 4903, you go to that. You know you can find it easily.
Well, with how often pieces are flying off of things.
True. Every Starfleet full of rocks. Every Starfleet ship has always got rocks inside every panel, just in case you're standing in front of it when you get a Klingon torpedo.
I'm both surprised and disappointed that we haven't seen more references to rocks in Lower Decks.
True. Now this actor turns up in one of the funniest TV scenes of all time, which is Pluie the wolf from the West Wing.
I remember Pluie.
He's one of the guys that comes along with the proposal to build the wolves only highway.
It's
him.
Oh, I love it.
She also turns up in another episode of TNG. I think she plays a cadet. It's in the episode Allegiance, where Picard gets captured and he's in a room with 3 other people. And there's some sort of weird test going on. And she's a Bolian. She's painted blue and she's got that big line down the centre of her face.
Yes, indeed. Sorry, I'm just thinking about Pluie now.
Oh, Pluie.
Rest in peace, Pluie. Anyone who hasn't seen West Wing must be so damn confused.
That's a nice shot of Picard's stunt double. Clearly not him.
Oh god, that facial structure is completely different.
Ooh, yeah, like that hair's too big as well.
Oof.
Can Patrick Stewart really not ride a horse? No, there he is. That's him.
Might have been an insurance thing.
Yeah, possibly. You cannot ride a horse in a wide shot. So.
Maybe they didn't want to use all of those hours with them. I feel we must do it again. We both love Star Trek. It's just fun to...
Yeah, it's easy to nitpick a 40-year-old show, you know.
It's fun.
Christ, it's coming up on 40 years old, you know.
Handsome horse.
Lovely.
I would love to talk to someone because at the beginning, Picard is talking about what kind of horse it is and all of that. Mm-hmm. I would love to talk to someone that actually knows horses and find out if he's just completely off.
The animal wrangler couldn't get that one kind of horse.
Well, considering how many times Spot changed not only color but gender.
Oh yeah. Spot has kittens for
Animal accuracy doesn't seem to be their forte.
No. Well, this is good. This introduces the debate.
Aw.
Her parents did not install parental lock on her internet. She's talking to an alien android flying through her solar system. There we are. So they call it General Order 1 in the original series.
Ah, okay.
It becomes
TNG is the one that changed its Prime Directive, right?
Became known as the Prime Directive.
Okay.
But it's also, General Order 1, wasn't really fleshed out exactly what that meant. And they didn't apply it in all cases. Mm-hmm. There's those episodes where Kirk's just flying down to planets and reading people the Constitution of the US.
Oh, boy.
But by the time TNG, that's when they really started to think about, okay, what are the implications of this? This must mean that we actually can't contact planets who haven't yet developed warp drive.
Yeah.
That's kind of considered the level. Once you graduate to that, because
then we'll
that's
say hi.
yeah, and that seems to be that's established later on as that's why the Vulcans made contact with Earth when they did, is when Zefram Cochrane flies the Phoenix, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where it's like, okay, we can contact these people now because we didn't know they had warp drive before that.
Yeah.
They weren't interested in Earth, but then suddenly, oh wait, they have warp drive. Okay.
So that must imply that the Federation adopted the Prime Directive from the Vulcans.
That was probably the precedent they went for, I guess. Yeah. I mean, there's lots of like, I'm sure that it's all explained more in some novel or something, but it leaves you with some way to imagine how this universe. It's a bit like we have laws about staying away from uncontacted tribes in South America and so on, so that we don't, because a collision with that culture is not going to work out well. So it's better for species that know how to. Otherwise, it's so obvious how badly that could go. Actually, interesting enough, in Stargate they have a similar sort of thing, in that there are beings that are effectively they've reached the level of Q. Basically, they've become Q, and there are good Q, and there are also evil Q, and they're not evil so much as they are evil because they're willing to interfere. And there is a form of the ascended beings that are willing to manipulate the younger species and get them to do what they need to do in order to further their own ends.
Sorry, I do like that.
Classic.
What would Picard do?
What would Picard do?
Get that on a bumper sticker.
I'm sure I've seen a t-shirt that said, what would Picard do?
Oh, yeah. Picard is my co-pilot. But I like that this episode, as I've said before with Data just a moment ago, he knows what the Prime Directive is. And he is an android. He's not supposed to be able to...
Oh my!
Alright, Riker. Alright.
Jesus, he's a walking lawsuit, isn't he?
Oh, HR
Jesus
loves
Christ.
him. He sees HR twice a week.
The thing is, he's probably macking on HR as well.
That's why he gets away with it.
Yeah. That's his thing. They just can't resist him.
Oh, Riker.
He's such a scumbag. Anyway, sorry, what were you saying? I just couldn't help. Now and again, you notice things like that. It's like, oh, this was definitely made in the 80s.
Oh, that didn't age well.
So here's our great scene.
Yes. I will let it happen.
With your fuzzy media center behind Picard there.
I like that she actually calls out that the Prime Directive can be cowardly. Very few people talk about that.
Yeah. Also, she calls Worf cowardly, and Picard's like, Worf, it's okay.
Don't kill her, please.
I will cut you up. Like, he swings his mallet. Yeah.
Oh my god. But yeah, I do think that this shows Data almost defying his programming a little bit.
Sure. Well, maybe his program is also... Because if you have, it's called AGI, the Artificial General Intelligence, which means an intelligence that can... It's a theoretical concept still, but the idea being, if you have an AI that can actually modify itself...
Yes.
Like, we can't just rewrite our genes. But if you had an AI that could actually make on-the-fly changes to its own code, which Data seems to be, because he's not only is he sentient, but he he rewrites programs. He writes new programs to be able to have relationships and things. That seems to be what he is,
I do like that. She's like, at what point do we interfere?
And it makes sense there's also a temporal prime directive. So if you go back and change something so that you kill Hitler or you prevent 9/11 or whatever, you do something that would massively change history.
Yeah.
the problem with that is that anything negative that then happens, you're responsible for anything negative that then happens instead.
Well, that's just it. You might not even know that it's happened instead, because it might happen after you went back, but you don't know that it wouldn't have happened if you didn't. So you're pretty much responsible for anything that goes bad, period, from that point forward.
Exactly, yeah.
And you have no idea what... Well, I just mean, it might have happened anyway, but you don't know that.
Yeah, anything that could even conceivably stem from that change.
I do love in Voyager when we see the Time Police and they basically say, "We hate you, Janeway."
Yeah. I like this. They're like, "Oh, well, what if they ask for help? Hey, you could view the calls they ask for help." And Picard's like, "Nah, come on, that's not good. That's bending it. You know that's bending the rules."
What a
Yeah, it's a good conflict. This is one of the best conversations in all of TNG, I think.
And I like that Data's the one who started it. It's definitely the kind of I don't want to say mistake, but definitely the kind of decision he might make in trying to figure out where the lines are as far as being human.
Oh, and this is such a perfect moment.
Play the sounds of a scared little girl.
And it'll get everyone in the fields.
Yep. Right in the fields. There it is.
I love Troy's look of just like, oh, god damn it. Now we can't ignore this.
Even Picard's like, oh.
Yeah, yep.
Frick.
Now they're all involved.
Yep.
But I seem to remember they find an interesting way out of it.
Sort of, yes.
It's a bit of a what do they call it? A finger trap.
Yes.
But they find an a clever way through. Those are usually my favourite episodes where the solution is not either to try really hard or just shoot it to death. You know, and the solution is also not some made up technical thing where it's like, oh, if you change the phases from this setting to that, they're gonna reroute some power.
Just slingshot around the sun.
Although that has been, again, Space Dock, the Great Channel Space Dock with Daniel Orritt and his friend Alistair did a really, really great little skit about how every problem in Voyager is solved. Of like, Ensign, peel the banana. And then it goes wrong, right?
Love it.
This banana is fighting back. It's like we're slipping up on an improperly peeled banana. It's really funny. Because they went too far with the analogy-based kind of solution.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So here you go. This is your B plot into tying into.
Yeah, so I did forget they do interact a little bit.
The thing is that's nice. It's the Starfleet officers that he's working with are so professional. They're also in a position of mentoring him.
Yes.
They're mentoring Wesley because when Wesley says, you know what, I want you to do this time-consuming thing, he goes, all right,
sure,
we'll do it.
You're the boss.
And he just does it. He doesn't complain. He doesn't go, I don't have to listen to you.
Yeah, there's no petty, unnecessary...
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about how there needs to be personal development and interpersonal relationship, but that kind of thing is just petty and unnecessary.
Right. Which it doesn't really happen in Star Trek. I mean, you know, they usually, Star Trek it's usually upholding the ethos of just showing confidence and projecting, you know, what do you need to command, what you need to be able to get people to believe you. And you do that sometimes by actually, like there's your great episode later on where Picard and Beverly Crusher have a telepathic connection, and they can hear each other's thoughts. Picard goes, "Oh, it's this way," and Crusher goes, you don't know, do you? You don't know which way we're supposed to go. And Picard's like, you got me. you know, it's just sometimes I have to pretend I know where I'm going because it gets things moving, you know,
Well,
and it helps people believe that I know what I'm doing.
I mean, and this is supposed to, that's the other thing, it is supposed to be not military, but a command structure. There is actually supposed to be some form of ranking, accountability, training, and I feel like that gets lost, especially in some new Trek.
Yes.
The fact that this is actually supposed to be close to a military system.
The thing is, they keep promoting everyone, so everyone's lieutenants now. So they have like the entire bridge is all lieutenants, and then Captain Burnham. So, as I say, we're not going to go too much into detail because the thing is, there's so many things that people, I think, go a little bit overboard in criticizing the newer shows.
Yes.
I don't want to do that. I'm not interested in kind of just hating on them for the sake of hating on them. The thing is, it's just a show I don't like watching because I don't like the ethos of storytelling.
Yes, indeed.
Really. I prefer these older ones that have a little bit more going on.
Yeah.
For my money.
Agreed.
However, Lower Decks is great. Watch Lower Decks.
Yes.
Heavily recommend Lower Decks.
I was about to say, I do like how in Lower Decks they kind of tease TNG for how put together and by the book it is, and portray them all as rather stiff and boring types.
The thing with Lower Decks though is that they're fully on the side of this type of Star Trek.
100%. You can tell they adore TNG.
I like that little moment there where Picard's like, I'm right on the edge. He's going, how am I going to explain this to Admiral Bitchface?
It's like, why can't I have something stronger than Earl Grey tea?
He's going to have Russian. He's going to throw some Baileys in there or something.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes. But yes, new sci-fi we like.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lower Decks is good.
Mm-hmm.
I'd recommend Lower Decks. Also, Foundation. I'd say watch the Foundation show.
It's very different from the book.
Sure. Don't go in expecting it to be a faithful adaptation. It's faithful in some regards.
Oh god, that toy is nightmare fuel.
It's like Cabbage Patch Doll.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, I don't think I've ever noticed that before.
I haven't either, but now I have, and now I'll never unsee it. In fact, I'm pretty sure I'll see it in my nightmares tonight. Running through the dark.
But yeah, I don't want to go too much into Foundation because maybe we'll talk about that another time, but it's worth a watch.
Yes.
I think. The aspects of it that are faithful to the Asimov ideas are really, really good.
I think if you've never read the books, or if you're able to go into it accepting that it is something completely different, it's enjoyable.
So yeah, fair warning, you're not going to have the screen adaptation of Salvor Hardin you always wanted, but
that everyone always wanted.
Oh yeah, that incredibly memorable character from Foundation, Salvor Hardin.
Oh, anyways. And oh gosh, I can never unforget. I can never forget her hands. Her
Oh yeah, they're very
creepy
spindly,
hands.
salad fingers kind of hands.
Oh god, don't say salad fingers.
Now this actress turns up somewhere later. I have a feeling that she ends up being one of Jake Sisko's love interests in.
Oh, that's not weird.
I mean, actors turn up again and again.
I don't know that she's a child.
No, she grows up to be
I
that
know,
later.
I know.
Obviously.
Well, I know.
But I'm sure she comes back as something later on.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a Vortar or something like that.
Except they just threw loads of glitter in her hair.
Actress's parents. It took weeks to get it all out. They managed to do it's still a cute little girl, but not make it still. You see, she looks like an alien. They hit that sweet spot where you need her to still be endearing and you feel for her, but also not be too different looking. You know?
Yeah.
And not just look like a human.
Yeah, yes, but she still pulls on the heartstrings in all the right
exactly,
ways.
exactly. That's what you need.
I like how he says 2 to beam up, and the person on the other end doesn't say, I'm going to check that with the captain quickly.
I'm aware of the ongoing situation, Data. I know you're not supposed to be beaming people up. Ah, such a pretty ship.
Indeed. Oh, yep. O'Brien, maybe you should have checked with the captain.
Yeah, I mean, season 2 has its moments. This is one of them, I think. Obviously, Measure of a Man. The Is Data Property? Is he an Ascension life form episode?
Mm-hmm.
The one we just watched, Contagion, I think is really good.
Yes.
Obviously, Q Who, where they introduced the Borg. That's a good one.
And as I've said before, any episode with Delancey is good.
Of course, yeah.
Oh, I love the looks. There's about to be some A-class Picard looks. There we go.
Uh-oh.
Oh, look at Troy's face.
Uh-oh, Spaghetti-O.
Made so much better by the fact that Picard hates children.
Yeah, you kind of feel like he's most angry about the fact that it's a child on
Oh,
the ship.
yeah, 100%.
Child on my ship. I'm not looking after it. I'm not taking you to Discovery Zone, little kid. Oh, the fingers.
Oh, the fingers.
And they're actually longer.
The pinkies are longer.
Pinkies are longer than the index fingers, so.
I mean, it's fine. It's alien.
Different.
And it doesn't interfere with the cute factor that we were talking about before. Picard is not your friend right now.
I feel like you need Councillor Troy on board just to have somebody who's more sympathetic to kids. Because honestly, not getting that from O'Brien, not getting that from Riker so much.
I mean, maybe that kind of is her role. She does bring some amount
That's
of...
cute.
Yeah. She does bring some amount of human emotion to the bridge. You don't get a heck of a lot of that from a lot of the other characters.
Worf, certainly not.
Yeah.
What are you?
I mean, our source of human emotion other than Troy on the bridge is probably Riker.
Yeah. So even this, even interacting with the planet and trying to, fix the geological problems. Even that could be, even if they'd never picked up this kid, that could be considered a violation of the Prime Directive.
Oh yeah,
because in some of the other episodes, like the government of the planet, the butthole people, are calling up, going, "Captain Picard, we need your help.
Yes,
we need you to. We have an asteroid that's going to explode all over us." And there's a direct, like, there's a relationship that they're working already with the government of that planet, whereas this species does not have warp drive.
No,
they're not flying around in spaceships. They can't ask for help.
I mean, the other thing is, she is a kid. You could probably bring her back, and she'll say, "I went up on a spaceship, and I saw what our planet looked like from space." And they'll be like, "Oh, she was just huffing those sulfuric fumes again."
Yeah. You got a little bit too close to the volcano there. Oh, the lovely Stargazer model. Apparently they just threw that together out of a kit. They're just like, we'll just put stuff together and spray it yellow.
It's very pretty.
It was basically just set dressing for season 1, I think. They just threw it in there. And for a while, it's a Constitution class. I think for one episode it's a Constitution class because they were thinking of using, before they did the effects, they were thinking of using the old Enterprise model from the movies to just save money, not build a new model. And then at the last minute, they decided, after they'd shot it already, they changed it. And that's when they built a larger scale version of that to make it more consistent. Which I'm glad they did, because actually I really like the Stargazer design.
Yeah, I do too.
It's a neat looking ship with the 4 engines and stuff. There you go, a little bit of stuff about the ships.
Indeed.
There you go, she's making more of her blue and red liquids.
She's diluted her blue and red liquids. Oh, I like the rock.
Now, is that a reference to the ringing bell from Isaac Asimov?
Oh, possibly.
In Isaac Asimov, one of his short stories, he has a short story about there's such a thing as a ringing bell.
Mm-hmm.
That is essentially a rock that's hollow and has vacuum inside, and there is a rock inside it. There's a tiny little pebble inside it that vibrates, and is held in place and vibrates inside it.
Cool.
I sort of wonder if that's a little teeny reference to that.
Well, I was trying to remember, isn't there another episode of Star Trek where they have a kid on board and the doctor says, like, hands them a rock and says, this is an egg, you need to, like, protect it and pet it and take care of it.
That might be this.
No, she told her it's the singing rock. And I'm reasonably certain there's one where they tell them that the rock is an egg, and the kid at some point says, I know it's not an egg.
Okay, I don't remember that.
Certain. Oh, God.
That sounds familiar. I don't remember what episode it's in, though.
I will have to... It will come to me. It will come to me.
Oh, so this is where they develop the memory wiping technology.
Mm-hmm.
So they wipe her memories of all of this,
Mm-hmm.
so that she doesn't, you know. You gotta wonder if this actually works, because we never see this species again. So, but later on in season 3, they try this same technique on the Mintakans to try and fix the problem with the cultural contagion, because they've seen humans observing them.
But it didn't work.
But it doesn't work because the Mintakans are too different or something.
Yeah, well, I do find that kind of funny that they're too different, but her brain chemistry is apparently the same.
I think the idea is more that the Mintakans are too different from her.
Okay.
And it doesn't work quite the same way.
Okay.
It doesn't stick. There's a lot of terrifying, creepy dolls.
I was just noticing that. Aww, Data's friend.
Now that wouldn't jog her memory? Living up with this thing?
I think that's what he did it, though. I think this is a moment of Data saying, I want her to remember. I think he's defying orders a little bit here.
Okay, fair enough.
Because he was saying... He was kind of implying in sickbay that he thought it was unfair that they were robbing her of her memories. So I don't know. I think this is a good episode of Data making the decisions that he thinks are right.
Okay, I like that.
Which, to me, certainly shows him going beyond any Android programming.
I do think it's a little bit funny that shot they just showed, they have the happy music going, it's all okay again. It's like, this is fine. Lava flowing everywhere, and volcanoes spewing gases and stuff.
Maybe they like swimming in the volcanoes in the winter.
Yeah, maybe they do, but it's just quite funny that what looks to us like hell is, it's all fine.
Yay! Happy ending.
Yeah. So yeah, Anti-Probo, which I mentioned before, those side panels. It's all full of emergency breathing apparatus. If they have if they're depressurized. It's got like helmets and stuff in there.
Well, that makes sense.
That's nice.
I'm so glad that someone thought about those things. Aw, Data. Yes, this would be the time when you fire Data.
Ah, yes, I'm just reading my Cyrano de Bergerac.
I don't know. I think an apology is probably necessary. But don't do it again. Aww.
That is their mission,
So cute.
Unless the little stone jogs her memory.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, you got to have that little... Put that little button on the issue.
Yeah, so he has a little smirk. I refuse to believe that
Lovely
Data is
episode.
anything less
Lovely.
than a sentient being.
Good choice. That's a good one.
I like that one.
It's been a while since I actually rewatched it.
I think it's, as I said at the beginning, it's cozy.
It is. It's a lovely, and as you say, there's no villain.
Nope.
There's nothing...
Even the planet exploding isn't really the
Yeah.
main focus of the episode.
I think one of the things that's really nice about Next Gen is that it's all very well-meaning. It's good-natured.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, usually these things, they're just natural disasters, and the significance of the story is usually something like, well, this is nobody's fault, but we just have to find a way to solve this.
Yes. It's not villain of the week.
Right. And it's not... Nobody's doing this deliberately to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just... Well, for me, the significance of it is more that this isn't... Whatever challenge is out there, there is a way to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just follow the scientific method and you investigate it...
Yes.
Your episode where Geordie and Leroy Laren get turned invisible.
Yes.
And
Oh, we should
intangible.
watch that one.
That's a good one. We may cover that one actually.
I was going to say we should.
But that one, for example, is a classic kind of... You could give up and just go, oh, well, I guess we're dead.
Mm-hmm.
Or, there's a way to fix this.
Yeah, exactly.
We should investigate this and find out more. And that is a more interesting ethic that I think the show was always kind of espousing.
Agreed.
There you go. There's my 2 cents. What your final thoughts, Annalise?
I feel like I've said them all.
Okay,
I enjoy this episode. It's one of my feel-good go-tos. I always like the character episodes, and I think personally I think character episodes that look into Data tend to be a bit more interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's more to say. There's more debate there.
Sure.
So yeah.
And it's also it's a great Prime Directive discussion
yes,
episode.
Also, a very nice Prime Directive angle. And it's one of the few times where Prime Directive comes up and someone says to not do this would be cowardly, and so they actually do it.
Yeah. Well, there we are, guys.
Yes.
Thank you all for listening, all
Yes.
3 of you. We will be back with something else in due course.
Indeed.
But until then...
Night-night.
Goodbye.